I'd love to introduce to you Debra Barit. Hi, Debra.
Hi, Esther. Thank you for having me.
And thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. Debra is an expert in helping people to prepare themselves for job interviews, and she's going today to give us some really great practical tips that you can start using already. So Debra, tell me a little bit about yourself first so people know who you are.
Well, I work with people who prepare for job interviews and who find job interviews difficult. The reason that the program and the training I provide is successful is because it's individualised and meets the requirements of each client based on their particular job specification, their needs and their skill set. And I get approximately 80% of my clients are successful at interview.
That's fantastic. That's a really great percentage. Could you tell us what do you think the three most common problems people face when they're preparing for job interviews? Professionals, non-professionals, and also people who are from a non-English speaking background.
Well, people face a number, but the key ones, particularly for people from non-English speaking backgrounds, is that they think in their native tongue, and as a result, the translation comes back into English isn't always grammatically correct. Secondly, people often don't understand the context of the position and just read the technical and job descriptions and miss parts that are incredibly important. Thirdly, it's very important to develop a common language so that the employer understands the language you use. It's like building a bridge. And once you build that bridge, it's quite easy for the employer to imagine you in that role.
Yes.
If you think about athletes, when they prepare, they don't ever look at the competition. Their whole focus is on doing their personal best. And that's the mindset that's incredibly important because they believe they can win. And you need to believe this is the job for me and I can do it, and that's the confidence you deliver at interview.
Totally. I really think that's so important.
Using common language that the company uses makes the employer feel you're one of us, and it builds that important bridge, and they can visualise you in that job.
Yes, I totally agree. That's really important. What tips, therefore, would you give people so that they could actually get through these common problems? How can they combat these problems?
Well, one of the things that I do recommend, in fact, I'm working with a client at the moment who's taken this up, is to listen to radio and listen to news programs, listen to current affairs, listen to talkback radio, so that the ear becomes a lot more attuned both to the language, the words, and how they are used in that context.
Yeah, but that's great. I also tell people to do that. Yeah, that's a fantastic tip. And that's not hard to do. People have radios.
Yes.
I think that sometimes, especially people, if their native language wasn't originally English, I think sometimes they feel that it's too late if they've immigrated as you know, an older person and not very young, that they can't learn to speak more clearly or learn to use that common language that you've been talking about. that actually that's not true.
No.
Because the brain is very, very plastic, and with practice, people can actually change that, which is why I developed my accent reduction programs, which I have on the net, and the attunement, which is what you just talked about, is one of the really important things. If you listen and repeat, and the programs go step by step, they show you what to do for a British, Australian or American accent, then after just a little while you find that you can actually change it, your pronunciation becomes clear, and then they have more confidence when they're going into that interview situation.
That's true. Another tip I give them is that it's not enough just to look at the specifications. They need to read the website, the information about the employer, and particularly tune into the language that is used. Yes. So some of that can be absorbed in practicing your interview skills. And the last one, which I think is incredibly important, is to practice daily. Find somebody who's a fluent English speaker and talk to them, even if it's half an hour a day. It doesn't have to be in person, it can be on the phone, or even just go to your local shop and start a conversation. The more you can do this, the faster you will attune to common everyday language.
I totally agree. It sounds great. Yeah.
And the final idea is, if you're a technical person in particular, to start reading the journals of your profession, and you will pick up the common language that will build that bridge between you and the employer. And if you're not a technical person, start reading the newspapers, a novel, or a textbook.
Totally agree. I think that just to immerse yourself in all of that is really, really important. And it's not hard because it's around. Yeah.
Yes. When they don't understand the context, I suggest to them that they read the website and understand what the products are, what the services are, the market. So they actually get to know the company and then understand how the job fits in within the organisation. The other one, which most people, but particularly people from non-English speaking backgrounds, find extraordinarily difficult, is that phone call. Yes. When an employer rings up and says, "Hello, we'd like to talk to you right now." Yes. And often people are caught off guard and don't think of saying, "I'm sorry, it's really not convenient at the moment," because the most important thing around this is to be in a quiet environment, get your thoughts together, and make an arrangement to ring back when you have that time and you have structured what you want to say. And employers will respect that you don't always have that time right at that moment.
I totally agree. That's so important for people. That's a great tip. Yeah. I was working once with a gentleman who, that whole phone thing is really tricky for people who don't feel that they're speaking English clearly. Yeah, I totally agree. And some people even have trouble just saying their name clearly on the phone so people can grab it. I worked once with a gentleman from a Chinese language background who worked in a council, and he was a really great engineer. But what would happen would be he felt quite frustrated because people judged him on his accent and he wasn't that clear on the phone, so they thought he wasn't competent. And so we worked together a bit on the Australian accent training program, and he progressed, and of course, then it was really much better. He felt much better. People weren't judging him just, on his accent. He came across as much more competent, and the council were happy too because they knew he was good at what he did. So that was fantastic. So Debra, I know it's really important to prepare yourself mentally for a job interview situation. What do you suggest people do to actually help themselves prepare mentally so they're ready for it?
Okay, there are 3 key things I believe people should do.